Kids and coaches, it's the professor with the breakdown. We have a sad weekend for your Indiana Hoosiers across baseball and basketball. So let's get into it. Friday night, Indiana took on arch rival Purdue and loses at Mackey Arena 93 to 64. The largest loss for the Indiana Hoosiers against Purdue since 1956. And if you haven't gone on social media, every Purdue fan will let you know that and remind you of that. Congratulations, hang the banner. At Mackey Arena, you went 500 against a 500 conference team. So congratulations to Purdue there. But let's talk about IU. Again, kind of top to bottom. This was more of the game that I expected. I don't think I gave as much credit and credence to the Assembly Hall crowd and how much they shook Lawyer at Assembly Hall and his traditional not shooting well, and kept him off his game, as well as a lot of the Purdue starters, and the ability to win. But Purdue bounces back. They had the home crowd going for them there at Mackey, and it was from top to bottom a beating, just as was anticipated. They had everything going for them: momentum, crowd, of course, confidence, coaching. A lot of the intangibles, size. All those things that we've talked about for Indiana during the year, and it was not helped by some cold shooting from some of our starters. So let's take a look at that. Lamar Wilkinson plays 34 minutes with 20 points. So pretty average game for Wilkerson as a starter. One thing that did not look great was his turnovers. So he ended up having three turnovers. Tucker DeVries only goes. He does go 3 for 4 on threes, but has no other one other point for a total of 11 points. Sam Alexis, another starter with a ton of time, 21 minutes, and he only has five points and 3 total rebounds for one of the taller guys on our team. Connor Enright, 3 total points, and that's pretty much his stat line. So Nick Dorn, outside of the another starter with 0 points. So Nick Dorn cold, Connor Enright cold. What do we have to do? Well, you're seeing more minutes for Tayton Connerway, who had 12 points, Reed Bailey, who had 10 points, and Josiah Miles, who had 3 points. So no Trent Sicily, minimal time. Again, only it looks like 4 minutes. So they subbed him in at the end when IU was already down by 30. What do I hand this loss to? I think the loss was coming in either way, but definitely another off game for our shooters on the road. IU just continues to struggle with a 3-7 now record on the road, and I believe we've lost 4 of 5 games against a ranked opponent, and one of those was a win against Purdue at home. So we're just not shooting well on the road, and coach is not bringing in and not substituting. This was a micro regression to what I saw they had been improving upon the last few games prior to Purdue. Was the minute that Sam Wilkerson gave up on hard and hustle on the boards, or the second that one of your shooters like a Wilkerson, a DeVries, or Dorn were just throwing bricks up and air balls, they were getting subbed out. This game, we didn't do that, and it just it immediately shows when we're keeping guys in there and just trying to force the ball, force them to get hot, and they got 0 points. I mean, if you remember the game before this, I believe Dorn had 3 points and Connor Enright had 0 points. And it was another performance of combined still this next game. In 2 games, those 2 starters have had a combined 8 points, and they're still starting. It doesn't make sense to me, but hey, I don't get paid to be a coach. We look at the team statistics. Points over turnovers, Purdue dominated. Second chance points, Indiana had zero the entire game. Zero second chance points. Purdue with 13. Points in the paint, as much as I hate to say it, IU was decently competitive here, 28-34. Probably about the extent of their ability right now. Other than that, 3 points again. Indiana living and dying by the three, 7 for 20. Purdue going over, 50% at 10 for 18, so we were killed there. Total rebounds just absolutely demolished. This is the stat where we lose the game. Total rebounds for the whole game, 15. Purdue 30. It was really, really ugly, and IU has double-digit turnovers again. And so, what have I said the past few weeks when it comes to Indiana? We keep we keep the turnovers under double digits. We keep the rebounding high to help increase points in the paint. It takes the pressure off the shooters, and the shooters don't have to chuck up Hail Mary shots hoping that they hit something. And, it continues to build that momentum. So, unfortunately, Hoosiers lose. Very sad, and we continue to move on. Upcoming, the breakdown for what we're looking at next is a game against Northwestern, who is 16th in the Big Ten. It's a must-win game. Right now, Indiana is 8-8 in conference. We're playing a bottom tier. I believe they're third from last in the Big Ten, so 16th, 17th, 18th. Yeah, so they're third to last in the Big Ten. We've already played them once. We have to win this game. We have to do everything we did the last game, but we want to also try. Now is the time where we have to, in the games that we can win, we want to start making statement wins, and so this needs to be, not a 2019 Hoosiers favored to win against Northwestern, and Northwestern just shooting the lights out of the core of the stadium. Because right now we are again, we see all the bracketology, and that Indiana is, we were 34th. We're probably down to about 40th right now. A loss to a Northwestern drops us down into the 60s, so at least high 50s. So we can't afford to lose this. The next next 4 games, we have 2 ranked opponents within the Big Ten and 2 teams that we should beat. So this Northwestern game is a must-win. We have to shore up. We need to, go back to what helped us win some of the games that we have won in the Big Ten: rebounding, solid decision making when it comes to 3 shooting. If the 3 shooters are cold, bench them, rotate somebody in, and adapt the style of play. Sam Alexis needs to get aggressive in the paint, have more than 5 points. Tucker DeVries needs to make more than 50% of his shots. Like, these things that the entire offense of Indiana is built around have to come to fruition, or it's lights out. Right now, as it stands as a 500 team, Indiana 10th overall in the Big Ten. A win will put us at 9 wins with an over 500, so that would put us tied with currently, the next 2 positions that are there, so it would be tied for 7th. Must-win game. Not going to be easy. Northwestern's not going to roll over, but at best right now, Indiana looking like for the Big Ten tournament a 1 game and done, which is definitely not going to help bolster their tournament freaking schedule, or tournament ability to get into the tournament, for lack of a better word. So we're going to move on to Indiana baseball, and I'm just going to give you a kind of a once-over. So Indiana travels again for another tournament, and this tournament we did get to play another ranked team. Number 11 ranked UNC. It was not good top to bottom. Indiana ends up going 1-2 on the weekend with another extra inning loss on Sunday. In this case, it was to in-state University of Notre Dame. So uh, not good. Mercer continues. I said it. I said it last week. These out of our league tournaments that he schedules, and the feather in his cap is you come to Indiana to play the tough teams. That is true. That is true. But when we are not a good program, you know, for a couple years, it's time to take that step back, regroup, consolidate, and then start scheduling tougher teams as you get a core of people who are experienced. In the NIL period and with draft and everything else, baseball rosters completely roll over, and that's the case again for this team. I mean, we've started on Friday, I believe we started nobody who had been on the team last year, to include our pitcher, and so that's just wild to me. I mean, you're starting an entirely new team on their fifth game. Oh yeah, fifth game, and it's ugly baseball. It's bad in-game decision making. It's poor defense. Error-filled. Indiana right now. The stat that I wanted to throw to you is we're averaging at least 2 errors. It's like over 2 errors a game right now. That's poor practice, poor rehearsal, poor training going into it. And these midweek, cupcake teams that we play like a Bradley, no put down on Bradley other than I just call them cupcake, but that, you're playing a Missouri Valley Conference team when we're a Big Ten team. I got it, it's not conference season yet, but great, you hang 15 on them and run rule them. Awesome. But did we get to work on anything? Because then we turn around and just get absolutely demolished and embarrassed on these weekends where we're supposed to be trying to compete, playing up. And right now we're just playing, I don't even want to say we're playing up. We're just playing miserable baseball. It's not fun to watch baseball, and hopefully coach can figure something out. The errors are the starting point. We got to protect and take care of the ball. We got to make good in-game decisions. The pitching is a question mark. Like every inning, you just don't know what kind of pitcher you're going to get, and that coupled with the defense not being able to do anything is kind of sad. And it's this early in the season to be 2-4 on an early season is already it's not as bad as being, or 2-5. It's not as bad as being 1-4, which we were going into Saturday, but we're already 3 games below 500. That's a series. When conference starts, you're not looking for big series sweeps. The Big Ten is pretty decent at baseball, and our schedule is not an easy schedule. So I don't know what Coach Mercer needs to do other than stop scheduling freaking ACC and SEC ranked opponents every year for the first 2 to 3 series that we play, and put our guys in a 1-10, 2-10 hole that we then have to overcome just to try to even be a question mark for college playoffs. Because right now, but that's not us. If you're following in-state college baseball, bright spot of the weekend was that unranked Evansville did upset and beat ranked Kentucky. So that was pretty good. And ISU goes on the weekend 2-1, improving their overall record into a winning season. And so you look around the state and you see Purdue with an upset against Oregon State. You see Evansville with an upset against one of our baseball rivals, Kentucky. You see Indiana State going to invites and taking 2 out of 3 on the weekend and being successful. And you just wonder why is it that a Indiana University with the ability to pull in NIL players, pay better coaches, better money, and put some teams together that can stay and be a core for several years, why are we falling to the wayside? And I think the answer we all know is that it's probably time for coach to take his next position and for Indiana baseball to move on. I think that's the only way that Indiana baseball becomes any type of relevant again, just because the ingrained belief that this coach has of absolutely demolishing his team out of the gate and then hoping that they respond at some point in the season with wins. When you only get the team as a team for a year, it's the wrong type of mentality unless you've had a core group of people for at least 2 seasons together that can take on that type of adversity that early. And this team is not it. So that's going to be the breakdown for today. We look forward to another college baseball weekend coming up, and Indiana versus Notre Dame, or as you were, Indiana versus Northwestern. So until then, go Hoosiers.